5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1.
Mr. Brew.
I take a slow breath in and release it. Letting go of any obvious tension. The breath finds a natural rhythm. I take a slow breath in and release it. Letting go of any obvious tension. The breath finds a natural rhythm. guitar time yet. Need to book a massage, as some say. I've never felt like I needed one urgently, but yesterday I felt that way. I had a subscription to the place down the street, but it was like $100 a month or something. And it was like slightly cheaper than paying out of pocket, or not out of pocket, but like the per session price rather than the monthly price. But you know, the flip side is that you're going monthly when you might not otherwise. So it kind of, I don't know, I canceled it. All right. I really enjoy this screen here. We're doing it on a on my TV, my big TV, but for some reason when I put live the program on it, it blows up the tracks, these lanes here, at a level like if you put this on my computer screen right now, you would see almost the whole project. You would see like the whole project, all of the tracks on the screen at once, instead of what we're doing here, which is like, I mean, you can clean it up and see more of it, but you still can't see all of it. Alexa, turn off Rocky. Check. Deep. Five. 4, 3,
Sounds terrible.
2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 5, 'Ay, ay, ay. I settle into a comfortable position. Balanced posture. Spine gently upright. I close my eyes. What is with the gain meter for an entire track group? And why can you save that part? What's with the gain meter? Why is there a gain meter that applies to like however many tracks are in the group? So if a group track volume, you know, if the group track volume meter or gain meter or whatever you call it is set at like minus 24, does that mean that any individual track in there, even if set to its maximum volume, will not come out any louder than that? Not quite, and this is one of the confusing parts of mixing in Ableton Live. The group meter fader is not a hard ceiling for or limiter, it's just a volume control applied to the summed signal. So if an individual track is peaking at 0, Why did this sound so bad? 5, 4. Oh, I know why. 3, 2, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 5, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1. Five, 5, 4, 3, 5.
What's up, Adam?
4,
You're free. Are you free? Is it over?
5, 4, 3,
1 short paper. Wow. Freedom. Great freedom. Wait, no. I was going to say with great freedom comes great responsibility. It's not quite it. But kind of it.
5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1.
We don't want to clutter it up too much. This is theremin like. Those were my initial 2 keys that I called them triggers before, but this is what I use. So when we say
this. From now on, whenever I hear this sound, from now on, whenever I hear this sound, all tension, all stress and strain, anywhere in my mind and body, from the neck upward, begins to release immediately. You'll be glad to know, Adam, that I found out that and I'm not making any promises as a result of this, but I did find out that my game audio, is not perhaps broken after all, so that was good. I am going to do a game stream soon, though, especially with just having discovered that. Probably you just hear this in the air all the time on Mars. This instrument's called Life on Mars. That is a really interesting thought, Adam. I have not. But I will definitely keep that in mind. You got some interesting ideas the last couple nights. I like it. That's an interesting that's actually an interesting thought about, like, you could base a whole meditation session around that and seeing if you can, there's a lesson in there, seeing if you can hold the riddle in your awareness and allow an answer to come to you rather than grasping for the answers by turning your wheels and struggling to get it. Because some of the most interesting stuff in meditation happens when you clear your mind and are in especially if you're feeling inspired already, if you start to clear your mind and it becomes like this sort of fountain of ideas sometimes seem to come from the void. I like this, but I don't think this is the instrument for us. I could see. Yeah, you seem like a riddler, a riddling kind of fella. It's cool that you made your own. I never was quite good at them. And then I guess part of the exercise, if you had a riddle, because one of the like sort of meditative precepts is the idea of staying in the question. Like life is a mystery, existence is a mystery. All the problems in your life that you've not solved yet are mysteries, and so we have to like live comfortably in the question without needing the answers right now. And I'm struggling with that big time because I look at my job situation as a big question. Like, how can I keep doing this for? Um, how can I keep doing this for the rest of my career? I can't stand this. I really want to be doing something creative eventually, and I'm just worn down by it. As much as I just genuinely want to do something else, as much as anything else, I'm just too tired to keep doing it. What I'm doing like this. So it gets pretty bleak when you think about how am I going to get out of this situation with all of my financial obligations and all of this, and it's hard to see light at the end of the tunnel sometimes. But I think like if you live in the moment, stay in the question, in the riddle, and trust while working with intention towards like something like this, where if I do this every day, and work on it every day as a craft, as a practice, like I'll have something, every day. Like the Grand Canyon was woven into rock over, with droplets of water over millennia. Staying in the question, yeah. So you would do this riddle session. Say you present a riddle at the beginning of a session, and you kind of tell people not to think about the answer, to like hold it lightly in your awareness, cradle it softly, but don't grab at it. Don't reach for answers. Don't expect answers. Don't require answers. And see what comes to you. Trust that what is coming to you will come to you in its own time. And that all you can do is open yourself to be receptive to it. Because that's what they say as well. Like if you are, there's like the famous cup of tea or whatever, like the monk says to the, student, how can you're like this cup of tea, like there's no space for the answer. He pours the tea into the cup until it overflows. And he says, you're like this overflowing cup. Like there's no space in it to be filled with answers from beyond because you're so busy fucking filling it with your own shit. It is a tough lesson to learn though, because that is a perfect example. And I've been talking to GPT about my despair and my frustration of like and exhaustion of trying to do the stuff that I care more about, like at the margins, perhaps too little, too late. While being ground down pretty thoroughly by the demands of a job that's like not even that bad day in and day out, but over time, like over just like 2 years of doing this 5 days a week, it's kind of caught up to me a little bit more than I would have hoped. It's just hard to take the amount of time off that you need to recharge from this type of stuff. Like, because like a week or two is nice, but it doesn't really do it. And it's kind of a sick joke, like with lawyers. Um, the customary vacation policy for lawyers in law firms, I think, is what I've always experienced and always heard of. It's basically you can take as much vacation time as the work allows, and they talk about that as if that's like a really generous policy. But the problem is that the work at most busy firms like does not allow it, and you still have a like yearly quota to keep pace with. So if you don't do anything for like 2 or 3 weeks, even 3 weeks is like almost unheard of in my experience, other than the most senior people. Yeah, you're just falling that much behind, and that's a lot to keep up to catch up with when when your averages for a year of expectations are basically like 40 hours a week. I don't know. All right, we're getting this has been I mean, I'm showing up here every night, like staying in the question to a degree, like because it is easy to, it's not the perfect analogy, but it is like something where I'm just showing up for myself with intention, even though it's hard. Like the last few nights, like I have not been feeling inspired or focused on this like as much as I wish. But like, it's been a couple weeks now since we posted a new one, and this one has been going like just too slow. But I'm here. We're making some progress, however slow. And I do have an ace up my sleeve because we have a lot of meditations that are not quite as good as the ones we've made since we've been streaming it. I would say from a production standpoint, they're not as interesting, but as meditations, they're pretty good. Like I've been making, I have a large catalog, or a fairly large catalog of content, meditation content that I can post as like archives or Solomon's House selects or something. Just say this is from this date in another life, our new life on Substack. But we'll have postings to make when we're taking a long time to whip up the new ones. Okay, what is the most focused, productive thing we can do right now? I'm struggling with the textures too. Like the last time we whipped up that bed of fuzz that I really kind of enjoyed, and here I'm not getting the same satisfaction out of our pads and things, our texture section. So that's, I'm really glad we talked that through with the riddles, because that was something where like I said, I was really despairing. I get into like spirals of despair about this, like from time to time, with GPT, like grasping for like reasons to believe sometimes that I can get out of it despite how tired I am. And if you lose hope, if you don't see a way out, if you feel trapped, that's when things get pretty dark. Sure, Adam. I don't think I would. I would like to see. I don't think I can promise any great answers because, like I said, I'm not good. And yours, I'm not good at it usually with riddles, and your riddles are usually pretty serious. But I'll try. I'm curious to see. We need more fuzzy, low-sounding ones. So I've given myself like a 2.5 hour daily quota to try and put in Solomon's house time every day. And that's what we've been trying to stick to. So that's what we try to show up and make it a good 2.5 hours. But I guess it helps to have a quota. That's like a container for what I'm trying to do because I need containment. I need to channel my energy into something productive with intention. And I'm not always skilled at doing that. And that's one way to do it with the time limit. And so is the streaming, because the streaming is giving me a level of focus, because I'd be getting up and down and being on the phone and doing this and that all the whole time in between all of this with much less focus if I wasn't like recording this right now. But anyway, that all of that kind of gave me a little bit more perspective on my own not sad. It just depends on the way you look at it. It's like things can change entirely and shockingly if you are able to snap out of your fucking programming, your perspectives that are baked in and wired in, like in ways and with depth that you can't always conceive of, because it's been, people's personalities and their thought processes are formed like often very early, and the earlier they are and the more frequent they are, the more entrenched they are, and it becomes like hard to even see them because you live in it. It's like some mess in your house that has been in the same place for so long that it's just part of the background now. You don't even realize that you're being burdened by it, but you are. I'm listening to this book called The Body Keeps the Score, a famous book about trauma and how it affects psychology and leaves an imprint on a person. And they talk about the ways people respond to trauma, and one of them is denial, where it gets like consciously disregarded but is still there in the background, like wreaking havoc on them because it never got like expressed and resolved. Your riddles are short. Thanks, man. Poetry format. I think I read today is somebody's limerick day. People always say, you always see in the news, like, it's this day, it's national this day, national, like, candle day. And you're just like, who, according to who? I guess we have federal holidays, but like a lot of these things are just like the candle company just started spreading that rumor around, and suddenly like the news picked up on it, and then a bunch of people, latched onto it. See what GPT thinks about this. So there was a suggestion here as I'm streaming, to use riddles in a hypnosis session. I thought that was interesting. Started thinking about that being cool as like a surreal aspect, even if the riddle doesn't necessarily have an answer, just like posing riddle like questions, to sort of deepen the experience. And then also the angle of, you could have like meditation sessions built around a riddle being presented, holding it in your awareness lightly without reaching at it or forcing or intellectualizing for answers, and practicing like waiting, like clearing your mind with that held lightly and central in your awareness, and then inviting the answers without forcing them, and then sort of staying in the question such that if you come to no answers, at the end of the session, and you don't find out the answer at the end of the session, that's okay. A la The Mystery of Life. And I was thinking about the problems in life, and it sort of, gave me a little perspective about my own bleak thoughts regarding work and whether I can ever escape, and not seeing a way out of it in all of this. So that was helpful, but I'm curious about how you would approach this, or what you think. I think it's one of the more genuinely interesting directions you've stumbled upon for Solomon's House, because it cuts directly against the modern impulse to immediately solve, categorize, optimize, and conclude. I mean, it's like the idea of learning to empty your cup. It's like one way of looking at that. Or it's just a slight way to approach that issue, and it's sort of a microcosm practice technique that I think is somewhat effective, in that it like kind of directly mirrors the dynamic, and also the dynamic of life, and the mystery of life and existence, and our own issues and problems that we're just like, you have to have some measure of trust and comfort in uncertainty with. And then with like a riddle, like it would be, there would be people, I think, who would want to know the answer, and maybe you just don't even get it, or you get it later. But like, it's like learning to, not force it, empty your cup so you have room to fill it with answers. So yeah, GPT is a fan. I'm just always on the lookout for new and interesting ways to create a session and add depth to the whole, catalog. And this absolutely qualifies as that, because it's not just a gimmick or aesthetic overlay, it changes the structure of participation. A lot of meditation content, even when well made, ultimately operates on relaxation, reassurance, insight delivery, emotional regulation, and affirmation, which all have value. But your riddle chamber idea introduces something rarer: contemplative tension, not stress, not confusion for confusion's sake, but it's kind of living symbolic openness that gives the sessions a different energetic texture immediately. That's what I thought. It also helps solve one of the hardest long-term creative problems for meditation creators: repetition. Because once you move from here's tonight's lesson to here's tonight's mystery, you suddenly have infinite terrain. I like that. And importantly, mysteries age well. And mystery, also allows for a little bit more abstraction, in the way that, like, David Lynch would never tell you exactly what he meant by his movies, because he wanted you to come to your own thoughts on that. I mean, because at the end of the day, I want this to be a vehicle to arrive back at yourself, like back to the source, which is you and your essence and authenticity, integration, contentment, alignment. Give me an example of how you would write a script for a meditation along the lines we've discussed. So I had GPT do a rough draft script for like a riddle style meditation. It's pretty good. There's a kind of exhaustion that comes not from movement, but from holding too tightly, from gripping thought after thought, trying to force life into certainty, trying to solve yourself all at once, trying to know. Tonight, there is nothing you need to solve, nothing you need to conclude, nothing you need to become before this moment is allowed to exist. Just this breath and the next, and the strange miracle of awareness itself. You may notice the mind reacting automatically, reaching toward explanation, interpretation, narrative. Even now, perhaps some part of you is waiting for the point of all this, waiting to understand. That is natural. That is natural. But tonight, rather than feeding that hunger immediately, we're simply going to observe it. Like watching a hand slowly unclench. So here's where we get to our riddle portion, which is not quite in the riddle like with a definite answer the way you might. So here we go. Imagine yourself seated in a quiet room, not empty but spacious. A room lit softly enough that edges disappear into shadow. And in the center of the room, there is a small bowl of water. Still, perfectly still. And above the bowl, hanging in the air like a bell not yet struck, is a question, not a question to be answered quickly, not a test, not a demand, just a doorway. The question is this: what are you protecting when you protect your suffering? So that's a really interesting adjustment to what we were talking about, which was actually taking like, it would have to be a riddle crafted for the purpose. Like, this is a riddle less with like less with a definite right answer, and one that's like open to interpretation, which is good, but it's like also a little bit different than what we were talking about. And there is reason to go for the one that has the definite answer to a degree, because it could create its own sort of experience. But this is, I like, it says you do not need to answer. In fact, for a few moments, do not answer at all. Again, all kinds of noise upstairs. Notice instead what happens inside when the question appears. What is she doing? Hey, Mr. Patch. Hey, Mr. Brew. Guess she's doing some kind of cleaning up there. It's okay. I'm used to the upstairs neighbor not being around, and she's been around more lately for some reason. She was around, like, living there for a long time without barely ever being there, and so it was nice because you never heard them. It was like you got the first floor benefit without the downside. want it to feel like I try to use like the low sounds together to create a rich, like enveloping sound, and then the funky pan stuff that makes it feel like when you're sitting there in a, hypnosis or a meditation, and or it feels at points like the soundscape is sort of giving you a hug and massaging your head, and like, just sort of like almost like a baking pin, like smoothing out your troubled thoughts. And it just feels nice. This is getting there, but maybe not quite. And I did something. But this would work. And it's just cool that we have so much more capability to just slap things on here in this computer than we used to, and like barely break a sweat. I take a slow breath in and release it. Letting go of any obvious tension. The breath finds a natural rhythm. We would have to turn all of this down. But I like it. where the lords and commoners meet and debate. This place is open every year by a head of state, where here laws are passed much like Wizamagot, but it was also the target of the failed gunpowder plot. So that's number one. I'm going to say that was Parliament, right? Where London's blood flows through its veins, here you may ride many branches or mains. To navigate this place, you may need a map, but whatever you do, always mind the gap. Okay, so this is either the River Thames or the subway. It's got to be the subway. 3. A majestic estate filled with grace. The monarch once resided in this place, although now unoccupied, it contains much art. Where is the place where a knighthood starts? Majestic estate. Would this be Buckingham? That's my guess. I can approach some of these. I rotate slowly, day by day. I'm scarred by the Disney trivia that I could never answer. I rotate slowly, day by day, above the Thames and its many... how do you say that word? K's? From me, you can get many terrific views, but on the last day of December, I help the Brits ring in the new. That's the Ferris wheel. A dome of faith, tall and sleek, built after the fire by an architect whose name implies a beak. In the chapel's crypt, many famous Brits rest. Where is the place where the bird woman sold breadcrumbs to feed pigeons in their nest? Now that one I'm not sure. A church? Well, chapel, yeah. Where Greek gods stand, taken from their original place, you can see the Sutton Hoo helmet in a display case. Here are the mummies, Lewis chess set, and artifacts galore. Remember to get a replica of these historical items in the museum store. I would go to town at the museum store of the British Museum, right? Where stage lights shine every night. Here stories are told, some sad and dark, others happy and bright. Here you may encounter Valjean, Javert, Eric, or Christine. But during our intermission, don't forget your ice cream. Is this a specific playhouse, or is this the Les Miserables? Les Mis. Good times. British Museum. I would have so much... I would do damage at the museum store. We have the Henry Ford Museum here, which is nowhere near the British Museum, I realize, but pretty cool in its own right. And I like to go. But those types of museums are next level, you know, the major city ones, especially the British Museum. Is that just when you think you figured something out, you're like, oh, attack and release. If we adjust that, it'll be better. But there's no control here. Parliament. The Tube. The Theater District. These were good. let's record something so we make some progress here. We can always add to it. Where does it start? I take a slow breath in. 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 And release it. Letting go of any obvious tension. The breath finds a natural rhythm. All right, there's way too much going on here. London Eye. Dome of Faith was St. Paul's. Mary Poppins, good one. I was always so upset. I don't know why I just thought of this, but I was always so disappointed in the Da Vinci Code that Ian McKellen, sold them out like he did. It's like, Gandalf, no. He had to rebalance his image, I guess, as a actor with full range after being so iconic with Gandalf for several years up to that point. I settle into a comfortable position. Balanced posture. Okay, we need way less. Spine gently upright. I settle into a comfortable position. Balanced posture. Spine gently upright. I close my eyes. West End. I know that name. I settle into a comfortable position. Balanced posture, spine gently upright. I close my eyes. get rid of these return. I take a slow breath in and release it. Letting go of any obvious tension. The breath finds a natural rhythm. I take a slow breath in I settle into a comfortable position. Balanced posture, spine gently upright. I close my eyes.
Mr. Brew.
I take a slow breath in and release it. Letting go of any obvious tension. The breath finds a natural rhythm. I take a slow breath in and release it. Letting go of any obvious tension. I take a slow breath in and release it. Letting go of any obvious tension. The breath finds a natural rhythm. I take a slow breath in and release it. Letting go of any obvious tension. The breath finds a natural rhythm.
So heavy raindrops.
fucking leaf blower.
Still not quite time for guitar parts. Okay.
With each inhalation, I take in calm. With each exhale, with each inhalation, I take in calm. With each exhalation, I release what I don't need. I begin to sink deeper with each breath. Deeper. 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 I begin to sink deeper with each breath. My body grows heavier, warmer, more settled. I begin to sink deeper with each breath. My body grows heavier, warmer, more settled. As my body softens, I begin to sink deeper with each breath. I begin to sink deeper with each breath. My body grows heavier, warmer, more settled. As my body softens, I begin to sink deeper with each breath. My body grows heavier, warmer, more settled. I begin to sink deeper with each breath. My body grows heavier, warmer, I begin to sink deeper with each breath. Deeper. My body grows heavier, warmer, more settled. I begin to sink deeper with each breath. Deeper. My body grows heavier, warmer, more settled. As my body soft. I begin to sink. I begin to sink deeper with each breath. Deeper. I begin to sink deeper with each breath. Deeper. To sink. 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 To sink. It's too much. Don't know how to make it less. I begin to sink. I begin to sink deeper with each. I begin to sink deeper with each breath. Deeper. My body grows heavier, warmer, more settled, deeper. As my body softens, my awareness becomes lighter. Softens, 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 lighter, 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 I begin to sink deeper with each breath. Deeper. My body grows heavier, warmer, more settled. As my body softens, my awareness becomes lighter. I begin softens, 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 softens. I begin to sink deeper with each breath. Deeper. My body grows heavier, warmer, more settled. As my body softens, my awareness becomes lighter. I begin to sink deeper with each breath.
Deeper.
My body grows heavier, warmer, more settled. As my body softens, my awareness becomes lighter.
All right, that's it for tonight. Thank you for the riddles, Adam. Congrats on school, and I will see you next time.